Good.
Nice stream on
Cut.
Facebook.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, and assembled company, welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe. And today, it could be night, it could be afternoon, it could be morning, depending on where you are in this big wide world. We have our worldwide storytelling, worldwide story round. Get it right, John. Worldwide story round, hosted by none other than Mike Rust, who is there's a pair of people up there. There's one that is aesthetically pleasing, and there is one that is disintegrating. The disintegrating one is Mike Rust, but he is incredibly famous, and uh, and for the sake of his granddaughter, he is amazing, and and
So I
across the
told you they
whole
were my
world.
mates, didn't I?
So,
Yeah. Right.
so Mike,
So
over to you to host this amazing evening where we have people. I don't know where Sue. Where are you, Sue?
you're muted too.
Muted.
Can you
So
see the
where are you?
screen?
Where are you at this present minute geographically, Sue? You're muted.
No, no.
You're. So
While
let's.
she's unmuting, Mike, does your granddaughter have a name?
This is Lacey May. Mia, Lacey
Okay,
Mia.
and we
Yeah.
have
Okay.
Omar in
In my
Marrakesh. We've undoubtedly got Waleed in
Kuwait.
Marrakesh, who at the moment is a candle. Um, we have Baba C in Washington, D.C., and of course, Mike Rust in near the Welsh border. So,
We're in
for those
Shropshire.
geographically, but worldwide, on the Welsh English border is close enough for jazz. Mike, over to you.
Good evening to you all. It's lovely to be here again. Like I say, I'm co-hosting for 5 minutes with my granddaughter Lacey, who's here to visit us for the weekend, and she's having 3 sleepovers, which is what we say nowadays. So we've got Baba in America, we've got John, who's in Gloucester, that's down where Gaynor lives, and Omar, who's in Marrakesh. And Sue, where are you, Sue? I didn't hear. Are you muted, Sue? Can you unmute? No, she's not. Can you hear us okay, Sue? Put your hand up if you can. Right. Anyway, so we're all here. There's not many of us, so it's always lovely to see you all again. And it's in the middle of festival season, so people have been out all around and everything else. And I hope Omar, I'm in Winnipeg. Right. So Winnipeg is next door to a place called Gimmerley. And Lacey, we've got relatives who live in Gimmerley. How about all those years ago? Right. Anyway, so here we go. So I'm going to ask Baba to start, if that's all right. Now he's just put something in his mouth and he's eating. And then we'll go to
Okay.
Omar, if Omar's going to do one. John, are you going to do a poem or something this evening? Or that? Yeah, okay. So we go Omar.
I'll
We
do a
go,
story.
you're going to do a story. Okay.
Well, it'll take longer to make a program of it.
Okay, we do
Sue,
Baba.
yes.
Okay. Omar, and then
But
John.
Sue, try checking out and checking back in and see if that doesn't solve your mute problem.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Okay, and then I'll do one, and then we'll see where we are. Okay, and if she wants to do one, she'd be very welcome to.
And
Right.
John, since I'm going first, I think you said me first.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay, so John, would you look for Sue to come back in when she blinks out?
I get that as well, Baba, so I can keep an eye
Oh,
on that.
okay.
Okay, so if everybody wants to mute themselves, and we'll go with Baba.
Well, I should mute myself then. Okay, so this is going to be an interesting story. It's a story I'm still in the process of refashioning to make it a Baba / Indian story. And I've also seen a American version of this story, so I'm a little confused on. But anyhow, it's going to be an interesting story. And the story is called The Forever Gone Tree, or the Gone Forever Tree, the Gone Forever Tree. And this is my first time doing it online. So, of course, the story takes place a long time ago, longer than the gray hairs on Mike's, John, and my beard, longer than the collective age of all those listening and watching is when this story first takes place. Well, maybe not. I just remembered something. But anyhow, this is a story about a tourist visiting parts of Africa. Now, when I told this story to a group of wonderful children that I'm blessed to work with, they said that he needed a name, and Bob was decided his name. So if there are any Bobs listening to the story, this is not about you. That's the name the kids gave the character. So long ago, Bob went on a safari, and Bob was walking through the jungles without a gun, without a rifle, without a shield, without a net, without a vehicle. From the city, you know better than that. But anyhow, so Bob is walking through the jungle when all of a sudden he sees a lion running toward him. And I mean, this lion is running. I mean, he's running so fast that his shadow is having trouble keeping up with him. And the lion is running toward Bob, and Bob just stands there and looks at the lion running toward him and goes, well, there's a lion running toward me. And the lion stops just in front of Bob. And he says, you got to hide me. 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 And Bob goes, what's going on? He says, there are 3 hyenas after me, and they're determined to eat me. You got to hide me. So Bob happened to be standing in front of a great big tree. He says, well, go around the back of the tree and I got you. So the lion ran behind the tree, couldn't be seen. And sure enough, the 3 hyenas, and in some versions of the story, there's 3 wild dogs, they're running toward Bob. Now, Bob still doesn't quite get it. He's in the jungle. He doesn't have a gun. He doesn't have a rifle. He doesn't have a net. He doesn't even have a Jeep to jump into. And the hyenas are running toward Bob. And at the last minute, they stop in front of Bob and they go, excuse me, human. Have you seen a lion running this way? Because we're going to catch him and we're going to eat him. And Bob looked to his left, looked to his right, and said, I don't see a lion, but what does he look like? He said, well, he's a lion. He's like a great big cat, but he has a whole bunch of hair around his head. He said, oh, yeah, he ran that away. And he pointed away from the tree. He pointed away from himself. He pointed away from the lion. So the hyenas looked at the human, and they looked in the direction he took. They looked at the human. They looked in the direction he took. He pointed, and they took off because they were determined they were going to catch this lion and eat him. Well, when the hyenas were gone and you could no longer see them, the lion stepped from around the tree and he said, thank you, human. Thank you very much. Whew, I am so tired. I have no more strength to run. I couldn't go hunting if I want to, but thank you, human. Thank you very much. But now I have to eat you. Bob said, do what? I have to eat you. He said, but I just saved your life. And I thank you for that, but I'm too tired. I've been running from the hyenas for so long. I don't have the strength to go hunting. I don't have the strength to, you're here, so I'm going to eat you. I saved your life, and that's the way you're going to repay me? Human, I appreciate what you did, but I'm hungry. And just before the lion could eat the human, named Bob, a hare appeared. Now, in some stories, it's a rabbit. In some stories, it's a bunny. They're not the same animal, but we're going to call this a hare. Unlike what I don't have on top of my head, the hare is a cousin to the rabbit. So the rabbit happened to come along. And in the original story, the rabbit is a female, but I do horrible female voices, so bear with me as I do. I don't know what this voice is going to be. And the hare said, excuse me, is there a problem here? And the human said, yes, the lion said he's going to eat me. And I just saved his life. And the hare went, well, lion, is that true? Well, yes, but I was running from some hyenas that were going to eat me. But now I'm too tired. I don't have the strength to go hunting, so I've got to eat the human. Oh, well, that seems a bit unfair. I know, but I'm hungry. Well, if you're determined to eat the human, he must first go to the Gone Forever tree and bring back a stick from the Gone Forever tree. Well, okay, that makes sense. So, human, you need to run that way to the Gone Forever tree and bring back a stick from the Gone Forever tree. Okay, said Bob, and Bob took off running. Now, Bob had no idea what the Gone Forever tree looked like. So he looked to his left, he looked to his right, he looked up and down. He couldn't find it, and this is where the story gets a little international. He's supposed to be in Africa, but he brings back a stick from a maple leaf. Well, the rabbit looks and goes, that is not from the Gone Forever tree. You have to go back and bring back a branch from the Gone Forever tree. So Bob took off looking for the Gone Forever tree, and he was gone for a while, and the hare just looked. He said, hey, he's a human. What can I say? And after a while, the human came back with a stick from an elm tree. And the hare said, that is not a stick from the Gone Forever tree. You've got to bring back a stick from the Gone Forever tree. The human shook his head, but did not want to admit that he did not know what a Gone Forever tree looks like. So he took off again, and he looked and he looked and he looked. And this time he found a stick from the Moana tree. Now, that is actually found in India and Africa. Now, I tried to look up the Moana tree, and when I looked online for the Moana tree stick, this is what they showed me. The young one probably recognized that one. That's Moana from the movie Moana. It is not a stick or a tree. The hare said, what? No, that's from the Moana tree. Look, human, you need to get a stick from the Gone Forever tree. And if you can't find a stick from the Gone Forever tree, look for Never Return to This Spot tree. And the human looked, he said, the hare turned to the lion and said, you know, he's a human. Human's not good at listening and following directions. I'm going to go with him to the Gone Forever tree. And when we come back with the branch from the Gone Forever tree, then you can eat the human. Human, follow me. And so the human followed the hare, in some stories, the rabbit. The human followed the hare to go looking for the Gone Forever tree. And the lion waited and waited and waited and waited. They tell me that lion is still waiting because, you see, the hare and the human went to find the Gone Forever tree, and they were gone forever. Oops, I stepped on a pin, the pin bit, and that's the way that story went. Asante.
Right, so Lacey and I, Baba, we have a question for you. So I say, dear boy, when did you meet my sister, and how did you know she talks like that?
The art of being a griot is to listen.
Well,
and I could tell by the smile on your granddaughter's face that she enjoyed that story. I hope that she did. Did you enjoy this?
Do you like the story? You put your hand up like that. Okay.
All right.
Right. So I met him in Marrakesh when I went there. Right. Okay.
And your grandfather is very interesting. I met him. He was one of the joys of me being in Marrakesh. And I like when we can meet online because it reminds me of Marrakesh. Okay, I'm going to mute now.
Right. Okay. So we're going to go to Omar now. So Omar, he's going to tell a story. He's going to tell it in English. but he speaks. Omar, how many languages do you speak?
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Hello, Omar. Hello, Omar. This is
Hello.
Lacey, Omar, my granddaughter. So wave to Lacey.
Nice to
Okay.
meet you.
So how many languages do you speak, Omar?
My native language is Tamazight, and I speak Arabic, English, French, and a little bit of Spanish.
So that's 4.
Yes.
Right. So we speak 2 languages. We speak English and Double Dutch.
Okay. Yeah.
So you don't know what Double Dutch means, do you?
No, I don't.
No, Double Dutch means rubbish.
In
Anyway,
the
so we're
United
gonna
States, it's the jump rope game.
so we're gonna let Omar's gonna tell a story now. Okay, you understand this? Okay, away you go, Omar.
Thank you so much. So this is a story from India. This is from this book, Folk Tales from of India, and this is my first time I tell the story. And the story titled like 4 Girls and a King. All right. So once upon a long time ago, they left a king, and this king, one of the bravest king in this world, had everything that you can imagine. And this king had a ritual that in the days he would do his job as a king, but at the night he would wear some normal clothes, and he would go into looking for adventures in the place that he ran. One day he did the same thing. He wore clothes, normal clothes, and he went into to looking for adventures. And then he goes and goes and goes till he reach a place in a garden, and he would listen. Then he heard 4 girls talking to each other, very young girls. One of them said, "One of the tastiest, beautiful, sweetest thing in this world is meat." The second said, "No, no, it's not meat, it's wine." The third said, "You are wrong, both of you. The beautiful, tasted thing in this world, the sweetest thing is love." And the fourth of them said, "Meat and wine and love, all of them are very sweet and beautiful and very tasted in this world. But guess what? Telling tales, lies, is very sweet in this world." The king heard about the things and said, "What? Meat and wine and love and telling lies is very sweet in this world?" He went and he followed those 4 girls till he reached their place in their houses, and he had a chuck in his hand, and he had a mark in the door of the houses. Then he went back home to his palace, and he ordered his prime minister, and he said to him, "Prime Minister, come here, go to the place." And he sent him to the place, and he sent him to that place, and he said, "Bring him the father of those 4 girls tomorrow." And they bring the king's minister. He went to that place, and he found that shark on the doors, and he knocked the doors very hard like this, and then he bring him to the palace. The king said, "Okay, you have 4 daughters, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, Your Majesty, Your Highness. Yes, we do have 4 daughters. But what's wrong? What's the matter? What's the matter?" And he said to them, "Okay, bring them here. I need to talk to them right away." They bring him, all of them, 4 of them, they bring their daughters. And the king summoned one of them, and he said, "Okay, come here. I want to talk to you for a minute. What did you say yesterday in a place, in a garden, with the 3 of others girls?" "It's not about you, Your Majesty, it's not about you. We do not talk about you." And he said, "Yes, I know, but tell me about what you said." And she said, "For me, I said that the sweetest thing in this world, very tasty thing is meat." And I said, "Where are you from, by the way?" And she said, "I'm from Bhabra." "Okay, Bhabra tribe that does not even know what is meat. We don't eat meat." "Yes, we don't." And he said, "So how do you know the taste of meat if you don't even ever eat meat?" or ever see it. And she said to him, yes, Your Majesty, yes, Your Highness, but I have eyes and ears, and I saw that you have a shop beside our house where people buy meat. And guess what? They don't waste it. They don't waste any small of it. They eat it, all of it. And that's why I say maybe meat is the most tasted thing and the most precious thing in this world. Okay. And then he said thank you, and he go, and he said, okay, where is the next one? The second girl came in, and she said to her, what did you say yesterday when you talk about with the girls? And she said, it's not about you, Your Majesty, it's not about you. And he said, okay, I know, but tell me instead, what do you think? What have you seen? What have you said yesterday? And she said to him, I said that the sweetest and tastiest thing in this world is wine. Okay, whose daughter are you? Said the king. I'm the daughter of the priest. A priest? Are you making jokes? You are a king, a daughter of a priest, and you're talking about wine? No, I don't drink wine, but I know there is a shop beside our house. And he said, and she tried to make arguments that beside their houses there are a shop where people come, and she saw people come and drink wine, and even though they came back again and again and again, so that maybe she understands that wine is very precious to those people, so it is more tasted thing in this world. And I say, okay, thank you. And she says, where is the third one? Come in. The third one said, Your Majesty, you don't even need to ask me. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about love. And he said, what? Love? How come being love and you're still very young girl? How come making love is more precious in this world? And she said, yes, I know, but I have ears, I have eyes. And I said that my mother and my father, like, love is very precious within them and between them. Okay, said the king, where's the fourth one? And the fourth one came in, and she said, Your Majesty, I wasn't talking about you yesterday. I was talking about other things. And he said to her, so what is the thing that you are talking about yesterday? Tell me. And he said, I wasn't talking about wine. I wasn't talking about meat. I wasn't talking about making love. I was talking about telling lies. What? Telling lies? Yes, Your Majesty. Even you can tell lies some days. Me, the king, telling lies? And you dare to see that in front of me? No, I'm just telling you the truth, that telling lies is very, maybe save our life sometimes. If you don't believe me, give me some money, give me some time, and I will prove it to you. Okay, said the king, and he gave her a big amount of money, and he gave her 6 months. After 6 months later, he would remind her, and he would summon her, and she came to the palace and said, Your Majesty, this is 6 months. Okay, said the king, what is your money? And she said, I've had built a big mansion, and you can come with me if you want to see God. Seeing God in the mansion that you built? I would love to. So he said, the king, and he would come with 2 viziers, 2 ministers, and he went to that palace, to that big mansion, that big house, very, very wonderful house. And they said, okay, she said to them, if you want to see God, you need to go inside this house. But guess what? The one who didn't, he is maybe a bastard. And the king very, very heard this thing, and he was very cautious. And he said to her, okay, it was a little bit stuttering, say to the minister, you go first. and see if you can see God. And he went inside the house, and he was looking into the chambers. He was looking into places, and he was seeing nothing. But he said to himself, "What? I'm a bastard? No, that I cannot say that to them. I can lie." And he go outside and say to them, "I see God there. He is wonderful God, and he talked to me, and he say that." But he did guess what he told me? He told me not to say his words to anyone. The second vizier came in, and he say what? He see God, and he was looking in the chambers, and he was looking, and he saw nothing. But he was a little bit scared. What? And afraid. I cannot see God here. But if I go out and say to them, I did not see God, I would be like a bastard to them. I would lie again. I would lie. And he lied. And he tell lies. And he go out and he tell lies that he see God. Both of them saying lies. And then it was the turn of His Majesty. And he went inside. And he was looking for God inside the mansion. He did not see anything. And he tried to go outside, and he was very afraid and scared, and was very, very sad. What? I'm a bastard. I cannot see God here. What to do? And he remembered that the phrase that young girl said to him, that lies maybe save life sometimes. And he went outside and he said to her, and to everybody, I see God. And he was very, very, yes, I see him, and he talked to me, and we have a dialogue between us. And the daughter and the young girl say to him, are you sure that you see God inside? Yes, I did. The second time said, are you sure? He said again, yes. The third time said, are you sure? And he said, no, I did not. And she said to him, now you believe my words, that telling lies is very tasted and very sweet in this world. And sometimes telling lies can save our lives. And he was very and laughed, but he did not punish her, but instead he would marry her. He would wait till he reaches the years to get married, and he would marry her, and she would be like her in his right hand, and he would like take advice from her in every affair that he would have in his work, and they lived happily ever after till the end of their time. And this is the end of his story. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Omar. It's always,
Thank you so much.
got to get, if that's the first time you've told this, it's always got to be told the first time. And
Yes, this is the first time.
Yeah, as you're
I
able to
just read it this morning. I found it this morning, and I love it, and I said to myself, maybe I can share it with you. So
yeah,
I did not have the whole images in my head yet, but anyway, that's as a first attempt, it's good.
yeah, no, absolutely. And you're ever so welcome always to come here and try a story for the first time. Everybody does that, and I encourage it all the time. So well
Thank
done.
you so much.
It's another
Thank
story in your repertoire. And the more you tell it, there's a thing called the 3 and the 7. You tell it for 3 times, and then you tell it for 7 times. And when you've told it for the 7th time, it rarely changes then. It sort of beds itself in, and it never changes. So always, now you've told it once, you've got to tell it twice more, 2 times more. And then you tell it for another 4 times after that, and then it will be there, and it won't change very much after that. Okay?
Hey, Mike.
It's called the 3 and the 7. Okay?
Omar just gets better and better. I remember the first time I heard him tell a story, and this is not that Omar. This Omar is so good. Not the other one was good, but Omar, you get better and better. Don't stop.
Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you.
You know, it's like a good red wine. The older you are, the better it tastes. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Right. Well, now we're talking about good red wines and John Rowe. Now the bottle of wine's quite old now. You're muted, John. You're muted, John.
I'm just unmuting myself.
Oh, good.
I have now unmuted. So I want to go back about a couple of years to when Marrakesh was the Islamic city of culture. And we did a series of stories from, well, each month there were storytellers from a different place around the world. And I was there for the UK bit. And Zuhair said, I want a story that connects Marrakesh and Manchester during Tudor times. I thought, cheers, Zuhair. So this is what I came up with. It's a completely false folktale. So this is from way back in time when my hair was dark and my beard was ginger and all my teeth were my own. In fact, it was even longer than that. It was back in the time of Queen Elizabeth I. And she was then setting up a company, the Barbary Company, which was to a series of merchants that would trade. She was giving a license to trade with Marrakesh, with Morocco. And there was and it was a trade between Manchester and Marrakesh, and in Manchester they were making cloth, and Marrakesh was sending back spices and occasionally Moroccan leather. Was never Moroccan leather. It was from down in the Sahara, and it came through Morocco. But that's as by the by. And there was a merchant in Manchester, and he had a woman servant, and her husband had been a sailor on one of his ships, but the ship had disappeared. No one knew what happened to it, and the sailor was never seen. And they had a young son, and the merchant found, as a woman, well, as both parents had worked for him, he felt kind of responsible. So he took the boy under his wing. We'll call him Jack, because the world can always do with another Jack story. And brought him up and sent him to school, sent him to grammar school where he learnt Latin, Greek, mathematics. It was a sort of Michael Gove sort of curriculum. And for those that internationally, it'll, just use your imaginations. Gove was not an imaginative minister of education. And and the boy grew and grew, and he learnt, and he was a good student. And eventually his master thought, well, he knows enough. He could go down. I'll send him to Morocco. He can be my representative in Marrakesh. And so there was a cartload of cloth, and it's taken by cart from Manchester to St. Ives in Cornwall, where they sailed from. And the boy set sail, and on the boat were Arab sailors, and so the boy was not only spoke English, Greek, and Latin, and could read and write. He now spoke Arabic as well. He had nearly as many languages as Omar. Another two, and he would have as many. And Baden's trying to get in. I'll just let him in. So they set sail, and it's not a bad voyage. They managed to survive the Bay of Biscay, where there were great storms, and there are many songs and sea shanties about the storms of the Bay of Biscay. But they came through that. They were only missing one mast, and they were within sight of the coast of North Africa when they were attacked by Barbary pirates. And in those days, there was a pirate republic. In fact, Salah, which was opposite where the other side of the river to modern day Rabat, and for 40 years, that was a pirate republic. And they were captured by Barbary pirates, but the captain, realizing that this boy was kind of useful, thought, well, I won't make him a galley slave. I'll sell him in Marrakesh. So they set off, and it took longer than a day, obviously. It wasn't like now, you could just drive from the coast to... there's a Vita as well. You could drive from the coast to from Salah to Marrakesh in a day these days, but those days went by camel, and it took longer than a day, and they were... Stop putting me off, Baden. And they were asleep by sand dunes. And the boy worked on his bonds and freed himself. Jack was a clever young man. And he was just about to grab a camel and ride off when he saw, rising in the air, gold coins. And he followed those gold coins. And he found himself looking at 3 thieves, 3 robbers. And the gold coins came to ground, and suddenly there was a robber holding them, and he took off a cloak, the cloak of invisibility, and he said, "Ha! I've got the best thing in the world. I've got a cloak of invisibility. I can steal whatever I want." And the other robber said, "That's nothing. I've got a carpet. All you've got to do is get on this carpet. It'll fly you wherever you want." And the third one said, "But I've got something more valuable than that. I've got ointment. A little bottle of ointment. And all you've got to do is rub it on yourself, and you'll be cured of absolutely anything." And the boy thought, well, actually, those seem like 3 handy little things. And he waited till all the robbers were asleep, and he put on the cloak of invisibility, and he stood on the carpet and grabbed a bottle of ointment and shot off to Marrakesh. Well, in Marrakesh, he found the House of Thieves. And he put on the cloak of invisibility again, and he took because it is ideologically sound to take to steal from the House of Thieves. I wouldn't want to encourage this anything else, but I think the House of Thieves, rather like the house of a certain gentleman that has a tower, and his name begins with T. I think it's quite reasonable to steal whatever it is. Oh, shush. And so he pays for everything in Marrakesh. He gets a fine suit of clothes, and he joins society, and he gets to know the Sultan when the Sultan is visiting Marrakesh, and he's well known in court when the Sultan falls ill. And none of the doctors, no physician can do anything about it, can cure him. And Jack says, "I think if you let me, I have something that will work." And of course, he spreads ointment, and the Sultan is immediately cured. So the Sultan and Jack become great friends. And Jack said, "Look, I think I can. I mean, you're a rich man already, but I can make you richer. My master in Manchester. If we set up a trade, we can, I mean, well, it's a bit like the modern day rulers. They've all got a little side hustle. I think it's so they become richer and richer and richer. And eventually the Sultan turns around and said, "Look, you've been really good to me. 1, I wouldn't be alive if you hadn't come along. And 2, I was rich to start off with, but I'm even richer now. What can I do for you?" And Jack said, "Well, I'd really like to know what happened to me dad." And the Sultan sent off his servants and his soldiers and his sailors to find out what happened to his dad. And news came back that his dad was a galley slave on one of the Barbary pirates' ships, and a galley. And in those days, galley slaves, they were chained to an oar, and they ate, slept, and they never got off that oar until they died. And the Sultan said, you know, he might be a Sultan, but remember, the Barbary pirates had their own pirate republic, so the Sultan couldn't order the slave veto. So he sent gold and he bought the boy's father. And he was in a bit of a state when he came back. He was that thin that my finger would have looked fat by comparison to him. So the Sultan fed him up and gave him a good set of clothes and sent him back to his wife in Manchester. Afterwards, a great reunion with Jack, who hardly knew his father, come to think of it. But the boy, Jack's dad, was a sailor, and he loved his wife, and he loved Jack, but he loved the sea even more. And but for them, it was an ideal arrangement, because Jack was now in Marrakesh, and his wife was in Manchester, and Dad was a sailor. So for the rest of his life, he sailed backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, and the wife was happy, and Jack was happy, and the sailor was happy, and of course, because he was making even more money, the Sultan was happy. And so it was for the rest of their lives.
Well, thank you very much, John. That's really nice. Now, Baden, it's lovely to see you. Hello, Baden. This is my granddaughter, Lacey. She's come to listen, so just wave to her. And that's Avita, isn't it?
Hi, Mike. It is indeed. Lacey, I'm really sorry about your granddad, but, you know, just one of those things.
Right. So, Avita, if you have any trouble with him, I know the local policeman in your area. You just get hold of me and I'll get him to come round and arrest him, okay?
Avita, you have fallen into bad company. That's why they call it bad end.
Yeah, don't think the whole of the UK is like him, whatever you do, okay? Are you telling stories tonight, or are you just listening, you two?
Oh, he's muted. That's the way I like him.
Right, so... Right, so Sue has told me she's just listening today. Is that still okay, Sue, or are you going to do... I see your...
Yeah, I'm unmuted now. I moved over to my computer so I can tell a story today.
Brilliant. I'll just tell a little one, and then if you'll do one, and then we'll turn it all off before Baden gets started, okay?
Hey, Mike, one small thing. Let your granddaughter know that all the banter going on, we do it in friendship. So we're not really being hard on you.
Oh, yes.
You're lying again, Bavasi.
Right, so I'm going to... So while Lacey is here, I'm going to tell a story about my father. So my father was called Pat Rust, and he died a long time before Lacey turned up. And he got a job in 1979. It was when Rhodesia was moving into Zimbabwe. And the job that they had for him was to be a returning officer in the election. And so that was when Mugabe got in and everything else. So Dad turned up and he had a white pith suit and a pith helmet and a white suit. I said, why are you going to walk around Africa like that for? And he says, if anybody's going to shoot me, they're going to know that they're shooting me and not going to shoot anybody by accident. So off he went to the elections. And he spent 3 months in Rhodesia, that's now called Zimbabwe. And when he came back, I said to him, I want you to collect a traditional African stories from the Zulu tribes or one of the African tribes. Get me a book of traditional tales, or go and find the chiefs, because that's the people he would have been talking to, and get them. When he came back, we sat down in a pub in Worcestershire, and this is the story that he told me. Because he had a few days off, and they went into the Serengeti Wildlife Park. And so he was driving round. There were 2 or 3 of his mates, and there was an African fella that they call Boers. But it's not, that's the name of the race of people, and that's not because they're boring people to be with. They're called Boers. And there was this Boer driving around, and they came round the corner, and on the road, lying down on its side, was a zebra. So we said, what do we do? And the Boer driver said, we're going to have to move it. So Dad got out and they went round and they realised that the zebra who was lying on its side had just come to the very end of its life. And I didn't know that this until this moment, but all the animals in Africa can talk for the last minute of their lives. And so he sat down and he put the zebra's head on his lap and he started stroking it, doing the things that you do when you get to the end of the life. And the zebra said, I can speak for 60 seconds. Can I ask you a question? And Dad said, yes, I'm a returning officer. My name's Pat Russ. I live in Elmley Castle in Worcestershire. I probably don't know the answer, but you can ask me the question. And the zebra said this, am I a black zebra with white stripes or a white zebra with black stripes? And Grandpa, my dad, your grandpa, your great-grandma, said, I don't know. I'm a returning officer from Worcestershire. And the zebra died. Oh, the zebra's just died. Come on, fellas, the zebra's just died here. So he goes up to the pearly gates, and there's St. Peter. And St. Peter's standing there, and there's these great big pearly gates, and the zebra goes up, and Peter says, let's have a look. And he says, oh, he says, you're a grandfather, a great-grandfather, a great-great-grandfather. Oh, he says, and you've been really nice. You've always given some money for charities, and you tried your best, and you go to church every Sunday. Well, sometimes you do. Yes, okay, we'll let you in. And so the zebra says, well, that's nice. He says, can I ask you a question? And St. Peter goes, yeah, go on, what do you want? He says, am I a black zebra with white stripes or a white zebra with black stripes? And St. Peter says, I don't know. You better go and ask the boss. So he opens the pearly gates, and the zebra walks in. Now, everybody knows this, that as you go into the pearly gates, you take the first right, and then there's a bit of an alley, and at the bottom of the alley, there's a pub, and it's called the Golden Harp. Okay, and that's where God goes every Sunday morning. He buys a Sunday newspaper, and he drinks the best drink that he can think of, which is cider that's made from Herefordshire. So he sat there, and it's lunchtime, and he's drinking his cider, and he's reading his newspaper, and the zebra goes in to say hello. And 5 minutes later, he comes back out and he walks around, and St. Peter shouts over to him. He goes, St. Peter, zebra, come here. He goes, what can I do for you? Did you ask God your question? And he said, I did. So what happened? He said, well, I went in and I said to God, am I a black zebra with white stripes or a white zebra with black stripes? And God said, what difference does it make? Okay. And so there's a zebra in heaven, and every Sunday morning it goes to the Golden Harp and it sits there and it drinks Herefordshire cider, it reads a newspaper, and there's God there, and there's one or two of my other pals up there as well. Okay. Right.
Excellent.
Right.
Excellent.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Excellent.
We love that. We love
Yes.
that.
Yeah, that came 1979 from Rhodesia in the southern parts, the southern area of Africa. But you've probably been there, you lot. I don't get out very much. Okay. Right, I think, unless Evita and Baden and they're just listening tonight, we've been going for about an hour. And I don't think we want to go round again, do we? Or are we going to call it now, John? What do you think? We'll just call it for tonight.
I think Sue wanted
We've got
to.
Sue. Who
I
was
beg your
going
pardon, Stu. I beg your pardon. You said you wanted to.
And then we really
apologise.
ought to ask Baden and Evita whether they are you telling tonight?
No, they said
No,
they weren't.
we're worn out from Norfolk and being with John for like 3 days and at Strumpshaw. No, that did it. That did it. I'm done till about October.
So that means you want to mute again.
Well, in October we want to see you in Shropshire. But so Sue, I do apologise. You've said no, then you said yes, and I got it wrong. So it's my error, not yours. So can we all mute, please, and let Sue from Winnipeg, which is in Manitoba, is it?
Yeah.
Is it in Manitoba? Yeah, which is that part that Donald Trump wants to incorporate in the United States of America. But it's really one of ours because you've got a king, and the same king we've got. It's called Charles III.
Well, we don't really have a king anymore. We're not a dominion anymore. We're independent.
No.
We have
No,
a
you're
prime
not.
minister.
No, what you fellas are pals. You're pals to us, right? That's what you are. Right. Okay.
Yes.
Whether you want to be pals with us is beside the point. We see you as pals of ours. Okay. That's how we see it.
That's right. Charles came here for a visit. It was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of Canada.
Yeah.
And the thing about Canada is there's still a lot of natural resources. So we're afraid that our politicians might sell Canada bit by bit.
Well, one of our
But not to
politicians.
the USA.
Yeah.
To the highest bidder, I'm afraid.
So one of our politicians did point out that the last time that the United States wanted to incorporate Canada into the United States, the Canadians went down and burnt the White House down. But
No, we're very nice people. We're trying to be very nice.
Anyways, so
okay. So my story is a Russian folktale as retold by Eric Kimmel. And this is a story that's very close to my heart. So once upon a time, a long time ago, there was an old man and an old woman who lived in a house in the woods. Now, their small farm was owned by the woman who lived in the mansion at the top of the hill, and her name was Madame Hecuba. So one morning, the old man and the old woman were having an argument. The old man didn't want to have any children, and the old woman was so sorry that they hadn't had any children. But finally, she picked up her basket and went out into the forest to find mushrooms. And so she took her basket and went and was going through the forest looking for mushrooms when she heard a sound. She looked around for the sound. She couldn't find it anywhere. Finally, she saw something moving in a pile of leaves. She went over and looked. It was a tiny baby, but the baby had a head like a bear. Well, the baby was crying. The woman picked it up and held it close to her. She looked around for a mother bear in case she would be in big trouble, but there were no bears anywhere. So she took the baby stopped crying, and she made her way home. Well, the old man was out raking, and he said, "What have you got there?" And she said, "I've got a baby, and we're keeping it." He said, "No, we're not." She said, "Yes, we are." And he said, "Oh, no, we're not keeping that baby. And look at it, it's so ugly." And she said, "We're keeping this baby, and you'd better be quiet if you want any dinner." And she went in the house with the baby. Well, she found the baby liked porridge, so she fed it porridge, and the baby liked fish. Well, it didn't take the old man long to know that he was beaten. And he started to go fishing and bring the baby fish, and they fed it all kinds of things. And that baby grew bigger and bigger and strong very, very quickly. And before long, it seemed that baby was a strong young man with a head like a bear. Well, he was very strong. He could haul water, he could chop wood, he could go fishing and bring them fish. The old woman was very happy that they had this young man with a head like a bear to help them in their old age. Oh, but one day a servant came knocking at the door. The rule of the serfdom was that each year, Madame Hecuba had a new servant that would come to serve her, and that servant was usually not ever seen again. Well, the servant came to demand the old man come up to the mansion on the hill and serve. Well, the old woman was crying. She didn't want to see the old man go. Barehead stood up and said, I'll go. I'm not afraid. The old woman said, Oh, no, no. He said, Don't worry about it. I'll be fine. And he went up to the mansion where Madame Hecuba was just finishing a meal. When she saw Barehead come in, she was very rude. She said, Oh, who are you? And he said, I'm Barehead. She said, Oh, well, clear away the table. So he picked up the table and he threw it out the window. The old woman said, What did you do that for? He said, That's what you told me to do. I cleared away the table. Oh, well, she was very upset, but she thought of something really horrible for him to do. She said, I have a small safe full of valuable jewels. It's in the courtyard. Now, I hear there's a storm coming, and I don't want anything to happen to my valuable jewels. So I'd like you to sit in the courtyard and watch the door. I want you to watch that door all night. Well, Madame Hecuba was very pleased because she knew he'd be frozen by the morning. And sure enough, there he was watching the door, and it started to rain. It started to hail. The winds came. It was freezing. Well, he knew there was a nice warm kitchen, so he picked up the door off the safe and he took it into the kitchen. And he sat by the fire where it was warm and he watched the door for the rest of the night. Meanwhile, some thieves came riding by to see what they could find. They saw the safe there with the door off and all of those jewels. They quickly put them in their sacks and rode away. Well, in the morning, Madame Hecuba went out into the courtyard to hopefully see a frozen Barehead. And Barehead wasn't there. And all her jewels were gone. She yelled, Barehead, where are you? She heard a voice from the kitchen. She went into the kitchen, and there he was, staring at the door. She said, Where are my jewels? He said, In the safe. No, they're gone. He said, Well, I'm watching the door, and that's what you told me to do. Well, she was beside herself. She ripped out her hair. She gnashed her teeth. She bit her nails. She was beside herself. She didn't know what to do. And then she thought, at the edge of her property, there lived a toad far under the water. Well, that toad hadn't paid her rent in 100 years. And she said to Barehead, Now, this is what you must do. You take this wagon, you go to the edge of the woods, and you collect the rent, 100 years' rent from the toad that lives there. He said, Okay. He was glad to go in the forest. He set off with a wagon. Now, while he was walking through the forest, he set a little trap for a bird. He put a little noose in a tree and sat quietly by and watched. It wasn't long before a little wren came flying and caught its foot in the noose. It's not called a noose, it's got a fancy name, but I can't remember it right now. So the bird was struggling there in the tree. He took the bird, took it out of the trap, put it in his pocket, and kept on walking down to the edge of the forest where there was a toad. Now he called out, "Toad, Toad." Well, the toad popped up from under the water, and he had a most magnificent green hat on that shone in the sun. And Barehead said, "I've come to collect 100 years' rent for Madame Hecuba." And the toad said, "Oh, have you? Well, I'll make a deal with you. If you can throw a rock further than me across the lake, I'll give you the rent. If I can throw a rock further than you, you'll come to the bottom of the lake with me." Well, Barehead said, "Oh, that sounds tough, but if I win, can I have your hat as well as the rent?" "Oh, I don't know about that." "Oh, fine, the hat." And so the toad took a rock from the lake and he threw it, and it flew and flew and flew and just splashed down on the other side of the lake. Well, Barehead took the little bird from his pocket, careful to cover the beak and the eyes in his hand. And he took it and he threw it, and it flew and it flew and it flew and it flew past the edge of the lake. "Oh, no," said the toad. "Well, a deal's a deal." And he went down and he brought up piles of gold for Barehead to put in the wagon. And he was just about to disappear for the last time. And Barehead said, "The hat." And he grabbed it from Toad's head. And Toad disappeared under the water. Well, Barehead liked that hat. And he turned around whistling and headed back to Madame Hecuba's mansion. Well, Madame Hecuba was watching to see what was happening. And when she saw Toad's hat coming through the forest, she thought that Toad had drowned Barehead and was coming to get her. And so she pushed the furniture against the door, she locked it, and she hid behind the couch. Barehead knocked on the door. She said, "Go away." He said, "What about the gold?" And she said, keep it, just go away. Leave me alone." And so he turned around and took the gold back to the old man and the old woman. Well, they were so happy to see him. They just hugged him and kissed him and looked at all the gold and couldn't believe it. And the old woman wanted him to come in. And he said, "Sorry. Here, you keep the gold. You won't have to worry anymore. I'm going back to the forest because I think that's where I belong." And they said, "Okay, all right." And they were very sad to see him go. But it's a good thing he went back to the forest, because it wasn't long before he met a young woman with a head like a bear. But that's another story.
Oh, thank you very much, Sue. That's really nice. Absolutely. And that is the first of many adventures Barehead had. I know one or two Barehead stories.
Oh, do you?
And he lives in the forest. Once or two. Yeah, lots of adventures. He falls in traps a lot and climbs trees a bit sometimes. Absolutely.
I've never heard another one.
Oh, right. Okay. No. Right. So we're
Question.
So we're going to go to
story
Baden.
about Barehead.
Oh, are you going to?
Was this a honey of a story?
A honey of a stone.
So I've got Lacey has a little brother called Ayaz who's just woken up. He's just going to pop in and say hello. Hello.
Hi.
He's ever so shy.
Yeah.
He's sat here listening.
Wow.
Right. Baden. and sat in London, I believe. Now, are you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So that was a
Evita's
great
passing
story.
through.
Well
We've got a recording session at Super Great Kids Stories on Tuesday morning. So we're kind of like preparing stories for that. So we're a little bit kind of
Old story.
yeah.
Right.
Hi, Vita.
Hello.
When I grow up to be your age, Baden, I'm gonna slow down as well.
Right,
So I
Norman.
heard about this group from the Canadian Storytelling Festival in Toronto. There was in Halifax, there was a lot of storytellers that had been to Marrakesh and were saying
Oh,
great things
brilliant.
about it.
Well,
Mm.
Sue, start saving up now, because in January 27, if you want, come to Marrakesh. We'll send you an
Yeah.
invitation.
And tell that story.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see how old I am then.
No. By that time, I'm going to be in
You'll
my
be a
80s.
youngster amongst this company. You know, I'm the
Sue,
boy here.
you're a teenager by comparison to some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Right,
I'm
So-
Norman,
going
it
to
is
75 and I intend to return.
Norman, it's
But,
lovely to
but
see
Sue,
you. We've been
send-
going about. Sorry, Baden. We've been going about an hour, Norman. I see you've just come in. Did you think we were starting about now, or are you just running a bit late?
I'm just running late. I forgot to look. I don't pay attention to a thing called time, and I forgot it was today. I
Right.
thought,
Oh,
in fact, I think today is tomorrow, and yesterday was yesterday. So, and I'm getting all the things mixed up.
Yeah.
But as soon as I heard you were on, I came some stories, and I treated into Bearhead, which I've never heard of. So that's something new for me.
Yeah,
right.
and that's just a book I found in the library.
What's the title of the book?
Bearhead. It's by Eric Kimmel, and the pictures are by an incredible artist. It's just the most beautiful book.
Come on, Eric, come on.
Wow.
So I've told it a lot in the schools here, but nobody's ever heard it before.
I suspect it may be a derivative of a derivative of a derivative.
It may be, yeah. I've never researched it, so I don't really know.
So Sue, email me at john@johnrowe.com, and which is JOHN@JOHNROW.com, and I'll send you invitations and stuff, and maybe come and do a Friday session for us for children.
Oh, sure.
On this, right? I'll hand back to our host, Mike.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. That's very kind of you. Yeah, so can you put your email up on the chat? I know you did it to me. I'd like to talk to you as well about something. Right.
Okay.
So we got to Baden and Evita.
Hey,
Right. So if he says anything wrong, Evita, just smack him around the head. Okay.
Smack him anyhow.
Now we're going to go over.
I'm a clown.
Quiet a moment. Quiet. We're going to go over now to Baden Prince Jr. We've never met Baden Prince Senior, by the way, but Baden, who is one of the best and one of the kindest storytellers in the whole of the UK. And there are people who sit at his knee, just waiting for him to tell stories, and I've always a pleasure to be in his company.
oh dear, are you expecting a
We're talking
story
about the
for
same
real?
bait.
Oh dear. I'm going to tell that story that we were trying to sort out
Yeah.
today. So, which one was it?
So if you'd all mute, please, while John tells the
Grab the
story.
book, grab the book. So, it's a story about a fox and a hedgehog. And Fox is a little bit of a, he's a little bit flash, he's a little bit loud, he's a little bit braggadocious and boastful, as we say in the Caribbean. And he bumps into Hedgehog, and he says to Hedgehog, how many brains have you got? And Hedgehog says, what? Yeah, how many brains have you got? And Hedgehog says, just the one. Why? How many have you got? And Fox, being a little bit of a show-off, I'm not gonna say he reminds me of Baba C, okay, because that would be
Rude.
an insult to, but yeah, it would be rude. It would be insulting to Baba C. And as everyone knows, I would never even think of insulting Baba C. There's no need. I mean, the man insults himself by just existing. But anyway, right? So Hedgehog says, "How many brains have you got?" And Fox says, "I've got 77." And Hedgehog goes, "Don't be ridiculous. That can't be true." And Fox says, "Yeah, it is." And Hedgehog says, "Nah, I don't believe that. Actually, the only way that I'll believe that is if you come to the sacred place at the foot of the hill where the great church sits on the top of the hill overlooking the valley. You come there and you swear in that sacred place that you've got 77 brains. And that's the only way that I'm going to believe you." So Fox says, "All right, then, come along, here we go." Because you see, Hedgehog is a bit like Brer Rabbit. And Hedgehog has decided he's going to teach Fox a lesson about boasting. So he walks him to this place where, yes, there's a big rock. Yes, at the top there's a church. Yes, it overlooks the valley. But Hedgehog knows that a hunter has placed a trap at that very spot. And he says to Fox, "Come, come, come, come. No, 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 come a bit closer, a little bit closer, little bit closer." And when Fox steps onto the spot to reach across to touch the rock, he finds his foot is caught in the hunter's trap. And he's like, "Ah! Ah!" And then he realizes what's happening. He's going to Hedgehog, "Help me, help me, help me." And Hedgehog says, "Help you? I can't help you. I mean," and Fox says, "Come on, think of something." And Hedgehog says, "I can't think of anything. I've only got one brain. You're supposed to have 77 brains. Surely you can think of something." And at that point, Fox realizes, number one, he's been tricked by Hedgehog. And number two, you should not act as boastful and braggadocious as that. And he keeps begging Hedgehog, "Help me, help me, help me." And eventually Hedgehog says, "Right, here's what you do. Now the hunter's going to come along and check his trap. When you hear him coming along, you just lie absolutely still. Don't move. He'll think you're dead. Even if he pokes you with his stick, don't move. Just stay still. And if he thinks you're dead, he'll open the trap and your foot will be free. And then he'll turn around to reset the trap. And when he does that, that's when you get up and you take off and you run for your life." Well, that's exactly what happens. Along comes the hunter. Fox lies down stiff, straight, dead, arms and both sets of legs outstretched. The hunter comes along. He opens the trap. Fox doesn't move. He lets Fox out and he lays him out on the ground. Fox still doesn't move. But the minute the hunter turns his back and goes to reset the trap, Fox gets up and he takes off full tilt down the road and is never seen again. But hear what? From that day, he and Hedgehog became best of friends. And whenever Fox went to visit the kind couple that lived down the road that used to leave out food at nighttime for Fox to come and eat, Fox always took Hedgehog with him and shared some of his bountiful buffet with him. And that story was written for Wendy Rice, who requested a Fox and Hedgehog story because she leaves food out for a fox that visits their garden. And one night she saw a hedgehog stumble into the garden. And instead of the fox attacking the hedgehog, she saw the fox actually push some of its food towards the hedgehog to share it with him. And she said, "Baden, I want you to write me or bring me a story about a fox and a hedgehog." And she's not watching tonight, but there you are.
Wow, that was worth
That was
unmuting.
lovely. Well done, baby. Absolutely. Again, a beautiful
Whoa.
story told by a really good storyteller. Look, you've got two people here thinking that's wonderful. And we have hedgehogs here sometimes. You can hear, they're called hogs because they make a real sort of rumbling sound in the bottom of the hedge.
Do they
Um,
grunt like hogs?
Yeah. And we
Yeah.
can hear them sometimes sat outside on the decking here.
That's what
Right.
Wendy calls them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, kids. Thanks, kids. I'm ignoring your granddad, but I'm loving the applause from you too. Thank you.
Yeah, did you hear that? You say it again. You say it like that. Hey.
Thank you, kids. Thank you.
Right. So Norman, you're the last one standing, as they say. Are you coming to tell a story tonight, or are you? Just...
I have a short story that I would like to tell in honor of my friend Carol McGurr. First heard it from her, and also reminded by the story that was already told. So my apologies, but I like to as a variant of the stories. Carol McGurr was one of the great storytellers of Toronto, I think of, and one of those people who had actually memorized entire sagas from Iceland. She once took a course at U of T with the idea to learn more about Icelandic literature, and ended up being more the teacher then, because whenever the teacher wanted something from the Laxdala saga, Carol was able to give him a section of it. And so she won when her many years ago when I was just talking about her. I just want to say this little bit. She lived in a town north of Toronto, out in the middle of the lake near Parry Sound. And when she was a teacher, she was the goddess. She didn't know this when she first went there, but all of the students, most of them were farm lads and huge people, but they treated her as a goddess because she was the teacher. And you do not mess with the teacher. And she also told a quick anecdote about a place where if you went to go shopping in town and they didn't have what you wanted, then you went out to the store. And for what this is what he was known as, this store that had everything in it and was run by a very strange man in a big broad hat, a long cloak and beard, who walked along whistling. And as he walked along whistling in his long cloak and broad hat, a crow would fly around him, around and around and around and around. And Carol once had to find some buttons. She couldn't find to match once in the store, so she went down to the store with a man with a broad hat and a crow. And there wasn't any, he wasn't there, but the woman who was behind the counter in this very dark, of course, had the dark, gloomy room store. But she said, just a moment, she disappeared into the shadows and comes back about 10 minutes later with the exact buttons she needed. So it was a place, I think, of magic and crows. But I said I was going to tell a story, so this is the story. Once upon a time, there was a crane and a fox. And the fox and the crane, I do not remember from the story that Carol told, but the fox and the crane were in a deep hole. And there was a trap set by a farmer and a hunter who was going to be obviously checking later on. And so there was the fox saying, I have 1,000 tricks. I have 1,000 tricks. I got to think of one of them. I've got 1,000 tricks. And the crane just stood there and said, and I have just one. So time passed. There was the fox saying over and over again, I've got 1,000 tricks. I've got 1,000 tricks. And the crane said, and I have just one. Well, sure enough, along came the hunter, looked into the hole, saw what the hole had caught, the trap had caught, and he reached down and as he was grabbing hold, I'm sorry, and he came to the hole, and as soon as the two animals saw him, the crane fell over to the bottom of the hole without moving, as if dead. And the hunter saw the fox running back and forth, crying out, "I've got 1,000 tricks! I've got 1,000 Rick!" And that was the end of the fox's tricks. And the hunter had a fine fox fur to look forward to. As for the crane, well, the crane was dead. So he just grabbed hold of the crane and put it into his bag, into the back of his cart. And as he was going down the road, the crane flew off because, of course, he was pretending. And as he flew off, he said to himself, the fox had 1,000 tricks, and I had just one, but it was enough. Here's to the memory of Carol McGurr.
Well, she must have been a fine storyteller. I've never heard her name before, but that is a lovely story, well told. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you. And she became one of the recipients of the Story Save. So there is a CD of all of some of her most important stories put out by the Storytellers of Canada. So and I think we have it on our website. I really should know it better, but take a look it up. Carol McGurr.
Carol McGurr. I certainly will do. Right, so I think we've come to the end of this session. We're not doing one in August mainly because I'm going to Whitby Folk Week. And Whitby Folk Week's about 250 miles from where I live, and it takes me 17 days to get there and 17 to get there and back again. And the actual Folk Week is for 7 days. And Taffy Thomas will be there, and Shona Lee will be there with Simon, and the 3 young storytellers from the UK. So we've got Fionn from Wales, Iris from England, and Elsa from Scotland. And you put them, all 3 of them together, and their ages won't add up to 60 years old, and that's 10 years younger than me. Okay, so it's lovely.
Hey, Mike, please convey to Taffy that Baba C from the United States says hello, and that I miss him.
So to Taffy.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I will. Well, I'll tell you what, Baba. At some point we will we'll arrange a link so we can sit there and chat to each other.
Oh, that would be marvelous.
Let's do that. I'll get Taffy. I'll sit Taffy down. And if you don't know who Taffy is, Sue, he's an old pal of mine. It's Taffy Thomas OBE is what he is. No, it's Taffy Thomas MBE.
MBE.
Yes, wrong thing, because OBE stands for Other Buggers Efforts, and MBE stands for My Blinking Effort. Okay, so he's got an MBE.
Fantastic storyteller.
Okay? Right, okay. And so my father, he had an OBE. So, okay. Right, so thank you all for coming. I've had it's been an hour and a half I've sat here with my 2 grandchildren, and we've just been listening to stories from all over the world, like I said. And when I mentioned that I'm off to Marrakesh again, I've got 2 little saying, can we come as well? So we'll see what happens.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, look at her eyes.
Well, they can leave you behind, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, they do know, they're going to know a lot of my stories. That is for certain.
Okay, well, yeah, they can tell your stories for you.
One way or
it'll be brilliant. And Mike, thank you. You always run a great session. Thank you.
I don't call it work. I just sit here. I just sit there. I'm going to go and have a beer now. But
so what we got coming up? We've got Deborah Weller on Friday at the same time, 6 o'clock UK time. She's down in Florida, and she'll be telling stories for children. Meanwhile, thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone who came. Sue, Baba C, Baden, Evita, Norman, and of course, Omar. And of course, thank you, Waleed, for flying the magic carpet. From Marrakesh, as always. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Waleed. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Baba
journey.
C.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Glad we
See
went.
and hear you guys next Friday and on August 1st as part of my birthday celebration.
Yes.
Okay.
Stories for children.
Absolutely, yeah.
21 again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
I had
More
a
like
friend that sent out. I had a friend that sent out an invitation for the 21st, no, for the 25th anniversary of his 21st birthday.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I sent out an invitation to the 25th anniversary of my 40th birthday. That was
Ah,
5 years ago. Yeah.
So Baba, see, that would make you 25 with like 50 years experience, right?
Something like that, mate.
you're
Yeah.
trying to get on my good side. That's all right, Baden. I love you like a brother. We've
Absolutely.
had this
Yeah.
conversation
I was,
before.
and the Vito, I used to have hair as long as yours at one point in my life. Okay.
Oh, look, I'm I'm
Oh.
just trying to grow him some hair.
You see
Oh,
that?
that would look good on him.
Rastafari.
Hey, Mike, if you bring the kids, I'll do a workshop with the children and they'll be telling stories in Marrakesh. So you better bring them.
Well, we'll see what we can do. We've got to persuade their dad, who's my son, that he needs a passport. Because if he can't see, there's a hill here in Shropshire Beach called the Wrekin, and if Jakey can't see it, he gets twitchy.
I speak Spanish.
Bye,
All right.
guys.
Adios,
Bye bye. See you, bye.
All right. Thanks, Waleed. Everybody take care. C out.